Please maintain pursuit. All units, we are detecting a power surge from the suspect. Be on guard. Monitoring spike strip release in your area. Proceed with caution. Look out, spike strip! EMP activated, acquiring target lock. All units, weapon systems are down. Suspect is using a jammer. Detecting an EMP lock signal. Take it. You got it. Roadblock in position ahead. All units, we are reading a disruption to the communication system. Please confirm system operations. Satellite connection down. All units, we are being jammed. Eyes on target. All units, local EMPs are now authorized for use. Repeat, EMPs are a go.
Roadblock patrol units on scene. Let me know where you want them.
Monitoring a tire blowout. Evasive maneuvers recommended.
This is Roadblock Patrol 1. We're on scene. Standing by. Over.
All units, roadblock in position ahead.
Target has dropped the spike strip. The situation is highly dangerous.
Okay, suspect is moving out of range. Re-engage.
All units, roadblock officers ready. Further orders.
Suspect is escaping. Please maintain spike strip deployed. We are showing spike strip deployed at your location.
Suspect has released the spike strip. All...
Please be advised, suspect is still at large. Pursuit is unsuccessful.
the vassals of two hegemonic powers. None of this hegemonic power, I would say. And we don't want to depend on the dominance, let's say, on China, or we don't want to be too much exposed to the unpredictability of the US. Having such an agenda shared by Korea, France, and bringing with us the other Europeans, Canada, Japan, India, Brazil, Australia, you start having a sort of third way. The global order was based on the post-World War II era, and by the way, after the war that your country had to deliver in order to preserve its independence and sovereignty. But during decades, we had a so-called stability based on this international order and the few certainties we had. It's up and down now. The problem we have is the day the main countries with the highest responsibility start to jeopardize themselves the international order. What we have to do is to stick to the principles. We signed a charter building the United Nations. And the day you start creating yourself double standard, what is your credibility to avoid war? The day you say, I don't like your regime, I don't like your organization, I consider you are threatening your neighbor, so I will intervene and bomb you. You open a Pandora box. Because nobody, I mean, why shouldn't the other do the same? We were used to a global order based on some certainties, some stability, and I would say a garant in last resort. Let's phrase it like that. And everything is changing. Our societies are largely destabilized by some technological and anthropological changes. Probably we will revert on that. We were hurt by a pandemic. We have a big destabilization of global trade, overcapacities on one side, tariffs on the other side, and we are trapped in the middle. And there is a doubt on the predictability of a lot of big powers in this world and how this international order can function. And my conviction is that in this very moment, democracies like South Korea and France, our republics, have a lot of things to do together. And based on this partnership, the democracies of your region, the European ones, Canada, Brazil, India, have a common agenda. And let's try to simplify the situation. We do believe in democracy, rule of law. We do believe in the international order based on the Charter of the United Nations. We believe in science and innovation, and this is part of our common agenda. And we do believe in climate change. I mean, we don't consider that climate change is a crazy idea. Based on science, it does exist and has to be fixed. We believe in trade and free and open trade. And we believe in the capacity of our diplomacy to fix instabilities. I think our objective is not to be the vassals of two hegemonic powers. None of this hegemonic power, I would say. And we don't want to depend on the dominance, let's say, on China, or we don't want to be too much exposed to the unpredictability of the US. Having such an agenda shared by Korea, France, and bringing with us the other Europeans, Canada, Japan, India, Brazil, Australia, you start having a sort of third way. Those who don't want to be dependent on China or aligned by definition with the US. But this coalition of able and willing countries, believing in the few principles I mentioned, a few minutes ago, and ready to work hard together in order to deliver on the basis of this agenda. This is exactly, for me, the agenda of the bilateral relation, but the new era we should open. And obviously, this is the challenge of your generation. And the former generations, and mine is probably at the, the articulation between the two. But during decades, we had certainties, and the global order was based on the post-World War II era, and by the way, after the war that your country had to deliver in order to preserve its independence and sovereignty. But during decades, we had a so-called stability based on this international order and the few certainties we had. It's up and down now. We should not just be passive in this new disorder. We have to build a new order, and this one should be based on the cooperation between these able and willing countries, those who do believe in cooperation or coalition of the independence, I would say. And we want to be independent. And this is a challenge of your generation. I think the situation where we are is quite challenging, to be honest, because the US is a great country, and they paid a very high tribute for your country and peace in your country, and they pay a very high tribute for peace in Europe. And the D-Day in France is not to be forgotten, and they played a very important role to build this international order I mentioned after the Second World War. And they are the guarant in last resort of this international order in a certain way. The problem we have is the day the main countries with the highest responsibility start to jeopardize themselves the international order. And I think our responsibility, it's true for the G7, and even more broadly I speak, some big countries are not part of the G7, which is based on democratic values. So China is not part of the G7, but they have a very high responsibility in the international order. What we have to do is to stick to the principles. We signed a charter building the United Nations. And the day you start creating yourself double standard, what is your credibility to avoid war? The day you say, I don't like your regime, I don't like your organization, I consider you are threatening your neighbor, so I will intervene and bomb you. You open a Pandora box. Because nobody, why shouldn't the other do the same? So this is why I really think that being compliant with international order does make sense for everybody. And this is why, if we go to Iran, we say, we do believe in international order and with the importance of negotiation. Iran is a very bad regime. No discussion about that. I disagree with them on a lot of topics. But I don't believe that we will fix the situation just by bombings or by military operations. Look at what happened with this type of operation in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Libya. We never delivered. Never. Even after 20 years. So you have to respect the sovereignty of people. If people want to change a regime, they want to react, step up, they can do so.
Ellie Honig is here with us in our fifth seat, former federal prosecutor in his own right. Ellie, she's in the unenviable position of being hated by a lot of people for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
What do you think is the real reason that she shouldn't have a job right now?
Well, the reason she shouldn't have a job or the reason she doesn't have a job? The reason she shouldn't have a job is because she carried out Donald Trump's overtly political agenda to prosecute people who wronged him politically. The reason she doesn't have a job is because she wasn't good enough at it. And I do think Pam Bondi can perhaps be a source of cross-ideological agreement. So we have Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. Does anyone at this table think that Pam Bondi was a good attorney general? Speak now.
Yeah, I think in some cases she was effective, in others she wasn't.
Okay.
I think the handling
Donald
of
Trump-
the Epstein files undoubtedly was botched from the beginning.
Donald
and
Trump
that was
disagrees with
something
you
she
because
did.
he just fired her. So he doesn't
Yeah.
think she was any good.
Well, no, he's not saying that she had a failed first year, clearly.
Oh, it's a
Otherwise,
ringing
he would have
endorsement.
done it a long time ago. I mean, clearly, she didn't do what he wanted to get done in that particular position over the course of the year. But that doesn't mean that there were any successes.
What's the
When you
best
look
thing she did?
specifically at crime, crime is down. She's been making a point to go after actual criminals, including cartel-tied cells in this country. She also was the head of the AG's office, as we actually went after the Antifa groups that people pretended didn't exist for about 6 years.
These are great
So
talking
those are
points. Let me
points.
give you some stats.
There's truth.
Their crime is down across the country. That's a great thing. That's a good thing. Pam Bondi presided over the dismissal and closing out of 23,000 criminal cases, federal cases, gun cases, drug cases, violence cases, more than any DOJ since 2004. She got rid of those cases. Why? So they could do more immigration prosecutions. So yes, crime rates fell. You can attribute that to a whole lot of factors. Never believe anyone who tells
they
you.
were falling long before Trump
They were
came into
falling,
office.
but-
That is
but
also
the
Connection
fact
between
is,
the immigration cases and
DOJ,
well, no, crime.
would you rather prosecute an immigration case or a gang
crime was
case?
falling at historic rates before Trump came into office. That's also true. But I want to get to why she was fired, because I think this is important. She was fired because she didn't go after Trump's political opponents. Now, Trump has put in somebody, his former personal attorney, who I presume he thinks, at least on a temporary basis, will do that. Is this where we're at right now in this country, where it's just like one attorney general after another until he gets the prosecutions that he wants?
Well, I think that's a conclusion that you could jump to. I mean, yeah, this is the second cabinet figure in a few weeks who's been fired. I think most Republicans would look at that, though, and say, look, Trump is eager to find somebody who is competent. And when you look at the things that a lot of Republicans are eager for the attorney general to do, I don't think the lawfare is, and I think as Jason mentioned, a lot of it's going after Antifa. That's a big part of it. A lot of it's going after some of the foreign money that's funding Code Pink and some of the protests.
But he wants
going
the law,
to
he wants the
anti-
lawfare. I mean, is that appropriate?
Well, so
Jason?
so no, but I wouldn't frame it that way. The same way that you guys didn't frame it when Steve Bannon was
Come
targeted.
on, no
when
Democrat sent out a tweet asking to prosecute 3 specific people.
You
and
had
those
people who
specific
said
people
that you
were-
wanted
Was there
to
any
throw
specific
Donald
post
Trump
from a Democrat?
in jail, and you wanted to take him off of a ballot so he
Who are
couldn't
these people?
run for
Who are these
president.
people?
The entire state of Colorado and the Democratic Party.
Okay, so-
clearly, this idea, the framing, I think your
But
point
that's-
is a
but you
valid one
understand
when it
that
comes
is
to
very
optics.
different from the
Why?
president directing his attorney general in public, mind you, as he did. Pam, I've reviewed the 30 statements. What about Comey, Adam Schiff, Letitia? He publicly, right? He's doing this. It's very different from a state doing whatever they're doing, from a local, district attorney prosecuting a case. That is different. When the president says, "Why are you not prosecuting these people who I
he
hate?"
believes broke laws.
Okay,
now,
but it's
you
not
can
his place
disagree
to do
as to
that.
whether or not they broke any laws, and you can have a fair argument, I think, about the appropriateness of the president doing it. But I do think that the framing is
So
important.
you're defending
when
it then.
I'm defending the president saying someone in his view broke the law and we should be targeting that person. The same exact way Democrats said that about Donald Trump, and it wasn't framed as Donald Trump is being
but
targeted
I'm-
as a political
Jason, you're
adversary.
making that sound as if it's reasonable, and it's not, okay? The president making a unilateral determination in his own mind that somebody has broken the law without providing, by the way, any proof of that, and then directing an investigation into that person is
Calling for an
that
investigation versus
that is
arresting
not
different.
that is not appropriate.
Let me
Okay,
let
I'm
me
sorry.
try-
If you don't like partisan prosecutions, you should also not like that.
Even if we take it as a given that there was prosecutorial overkill against Donald Trump, and I've said publicly that I believe there was, especially from the state actors, and even to an extent from some of the federal prosecutions from Jack Smith. That does not justify going out and charging Letitia James for mortgage fraud. And that was rejected by a judge and a grand jury. It does not justify charging Jim Comey. I'm no fan of Jim Comey with an age-old, flimsy perjury charge. It does not justify trying to charge Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin for something that is simply not a crime. And if this is going to be the way things go, you did it to me, I'm going to do it to you. Are you okay with, let's say there's a Democrat, hold on. Let's say there's a Democratic president. There will be a Democratic president at some point in this country's future. Are you okay with them saying, this is the game now, we're gonna go seek out everyone on the other side who displeased us?
Unfortunately, that's already a talking point. J.B. Pritzker is already talking about Project 2029 and trying to put Trump officials in jail.
I'm not okay
so
with that.
Unfortunately, this seems to be a sort of tit-for-tat thing. And I guess, to your point, I mean, the system is working, right? So there was evidence that Letitia James may have committed some mortgage fraud that was looked into, and ultimately, a jury of her peers decided that wasn't legitimate. So I think there was.
I'm glad the system is working against the person who's actively trying to destroy it. I mean, the beautiful part of America is that we have institutions and checks